So what if the fastest way to build muscle isn't lifting heavier, but sending a clearer message to your body? Because muscle growth isn't just about force, it's about permission. And most people keep trying to brute force results when their growth switch is basically ignoring them, which leads to the biggest trap in modern lifting that we're about to discuss. The real issue most of us face is what I call the sunk cost workout. We treat our bodies like a failing factory, where the only solution is to keep the lights on for 24 hours a day. We assume that if the gains aren't showing up, we just need more shifts, more overtime, and more sets until we're practically living in the squat rack. But in reality, your body isn't a factory. It's a high-security vault with a very specific, very stubborn biological security guard. You're trying to brute force your way through the front door when the guard has already changed the locks and gone on a coffee break. I'm going to give you the neural handshake that actually gets that door open in a second. But first, you need to understand why your internal growth switch feels like it's been stuck behind a dimmer. This is a chemical glitch known as anabolic resistance. It's a state where your muscle fibers become effectively deaf to the very signals that are supposed to tell them to repair and grow. It's not that you aren't working hard, it's that your muscles have basically blocked your number. But there is a ridiculously simple 2-second adjustment you can make to your lifting tempo that forces your brain to pick up the phone again. The truth is, those high-volume bro splits are great for kids whose hormones are basically a fireworks show, but for the over 35 crowd, they are incredibly inefficient. We have to stop treating our training like a hobby and start treating it like a precision-engineered investment, where every single rep is a dividend you can actually take to the bank. Forget loading up the bar and hoping for the best. First, we have to look at the sticky switch that's sabotaging your progress. In my experience, this is the part where most guys lose hope. To understand why your growth has stalled, we have to look at the mTOR pathway, which is essentially your body's master construction foreman. When you were 20, this guy was a workaholic. You could look at a dumbbell and your body would immediately start synthesizing protein. But once you cross 35, the foreman gets lazy. He's seen it all before, and he's not getting out of his chair for anything less than a massive, undeniable signal. But before I show you how to get the foreman back to work, I want you to understand something vital that most fitness influencers ignore. The guys who stay thick, strong, and injury-free into their 50s and 60s have built bodies that are resilient, not just big. That's actually why I created my ebook. It's not just a list of exercises, it's a manual on how to build a resilient, injury-proof body by mastering these fundamental stability patterns. It covers the stuff most trainers skip, like deep core integration, hip mobility, and a lot more, so you can train hard without waking up feeling like you got hit by a truck. You can scan the QR code on the screen or click the link in the description to check it out. It's the best investment you can make for your long-term fitness. Okay, let's get back to that signal. Think of your muscle cells like a doorbell in a noisy house. If you just tap it, nobody hears you. You have to lean on the button. Research published in the Journal of Physiology suggests that as we age, our muscles require a significantly higher leucine threshold. That's the specific amino acid signal, and a much more intense mechanical stimulus to trigger the same level of growth as a younger man. Most guys try to fix this by adding trash volume, sets that aren't heavy enough to trigger the foreman, but just exhausting enough to cause systemic inflammation. It's like trying to start a fire by rubbing two wet sticks together. You're going to get a lot of blisters, but you're never going to get a flame. From what I've analyzed, the fix isn't more work, it's higher quality tension. We have to stop just moving weights from point A to point B and start actually loading the tissue. This means focusing on the physics of the lift, the actual mechanical tension, rather than just the numbers on your notepad. When you realize your nervous system is the gatekeeper of your muscle size, you stop training like a gym rat and start training like a biological engineer. Now that you've stopped trying to bribe a biological bouncer who isn't listening, we have to talk about how to actually force that growth signal. If you want a muscle to really wake up, you have to master the art of mechanical tension. Most guys in the gym are what I call weight throwers. They use a little bit of a hip heave, a lot of momentum, and a whole lot of ego to get the weight up. But as we age, our tendons become less like flexible elastic and more like dry, brittle leather. When you throw weights, that leather starts to fray. The secret to building muscle is progressive overload through the lens of absolute control. A landmark study in the European Journal of Applied Physiology demonstrated that the eccentric or lowering phase of a lift is actually where the most muscle-building signals are generated. Think of your muscle like a series of microscopic Velcro strips. When you lower a weight slowly and under control, you're forcing those strips to stay locked together against a force that's trying to tear them apart. This creates the specific microtrauma that signals the body to come back and reinforce the area with more muscle tissue. If you just drop the weight, you're missing out on 50% of the growth stimulus. The goal here is a controlled 3-second descent on every single rep. It's a moment of truth that strips away the ego. You won't be able to lift as much weight, but I promise your muscles will feel like they've actually been through a war. This is how you reboot the system. You stop using gravity as a crutch and start using it as a weapon. But listen, all that perfect tension is completely wasted if you fumble the ball during the recovery phase. We have to talk about the recovery tax, which is a debt that gets much more expensive after 35. When you were 20, your body was like a high-speed printing press for testosterone and growth hormone. Now, that press has slowed down, and a new player has taken center stage: cortisol. This is the stress hormone, and while it's necessary for life, it is the absolute enemy of muscle tissue. High cortisol levels act like a deconstruction crew on your frame. If you're stressed at work, sleeping 6 hours, and then trying to crush a high-intensity workout every day, your cortisol levels will skyrocket, and your body will start breaking down muscle just to keep the lights on. Also, I forgot to tell you, I have a completely free newsletter where I send out weekly fitness tips and specific strategies for managing all kinds of issues. If you want to join the crew and get weekly emails from me, the link is in the description below. Managing your recovery is just as important as the workout itself. The rest day is actually the growth day. Your muscles don't grow in the gym. They grow while you're in deep REM sleep, and your body is finally allowed to divert resources to repair. If you don't pay the recovery tax, your body will eventually take it from you in the form of an injury or a total plateau. Feeding the machine is where most guys stumble because they're still following the nutrition advice of a 20-year-old on TikTok. As I mentioned earlier, you have to hit a specific leucine threshold to actually start that muscle-building engine. If you only eat 20 grams of protein, you might feel full, but you haven't actually signaled your body to build anything new. It's like turning the key in a car, but not having enough gas in the tank to actually start the motor. Research suggests that for older lifters, you need at least 30 to 40 grams of high-quality protein per meal to reach that anabolic trigger. But it's not just about the protein. We need to talk about inflammaging, that low-level chronic inflammation that blunts muscle growth as we get older. This is where things like omega-3 fatty acids and vitamin D3 become non-negotiable. Think of them as the oil in your biological engine. Without them, the parts start to grind, the heat builds up, and eventually, the whole system crashes. You have to feed the machine with the intent to reduce friction, not just to provide calories. When you optimize your internal environment, you make muscle growth a safe investment for your body again. So, how do we put this all together into a roadmap that doesn't require you to quit your job and move into the gym? From what I've seen, the most successful guys move away from the hit one body part once a week style of training. Instead, they move toward a high-frequency, low-volume approach, usually a full body or upper-lower, split performed 3 or 4 times a week. Why? Because after 35, the muscle protein synthesis window, the time your body is actually building muscle after a workout, is much shorter. If you only hit your chest on Monday, by Thursday, that muscle has already stopped its growth phase and is just sitting idle for the rest of the week. The goal here is to give the muscle a nudge every 48 to 72 hours. You don't need to do 20 sets. You need to do 3 or 4 perfect high-tension sets and then get out. This keeps the growth signal on throughout the entire week without overloading your central nervous system. It's the difference between trying to water a plant with a fire hose once a week versus using a spray bottle every couple of days. One creates a mess and drowns the roots. The other creates a thriving, healthy organism. Focus on big, multi-joint movements like squats, rows, and presses. These are the compound interest of your fitness portfolio. Don't forget to check out that ebook in the description below that I mentioned earlier. It really is the full blueprint for making sure the body you build is one that's designed to last so that you can keep having good workouts as you age.